Hello, I'm Victor Vogel. Welcome to Coffee with Vic. This is a show where we just have some coffee and talk about topics, but this particular show is part of a series, and this is volume two of the series called A Journey Through American Healthcare. And I'm taking this journey because I had an accident, and we covered that in volume one, so I won't cover it. And this one you need to buckle up for because we're going to talk about first responders. So let's go ahead and get started. I think that it's important for us to understand uh, what responders do. And, well, not so much what they do, but the training they have behind them. We know what they do. They take care of us when we have an accident or an illness or something like that. However, it's really important, I think, because people don't understand the depth that these people go in their profession, and the fact that they're there. They come there. There's no question about it. If there's a call, they come to take care of you, and they don't care who you are, and they don't care about your race. They don't care about your lifestyle. They don't care about any of the things that we argue about or hear about today in the world. They go because it's somebody in need, and their job is to help. That's a pretty, pretty outstanding job to have. And sometimes I don't think we appreciate them as much as we should. At least I never have in the past. Uh, but I want to, so let's cover a little bit about what it takes and the various levels of first responder, EMT. In my case, it was an ambulance, but this would hold true for a fire department responding also. The first level is basically the EMT basic, and so emergency medical technician or treatment, and this is the basic level, and that level, they even at that level spend about 110 hours in training. Now, their basic responsibilities are they can do automated external defibrillation, which is, the heart shock scenario, or taking a look at blood pressure and those kinds of things. They can split bones, and they can do CPR. They can do some section of certain types of fluids under the guidance of the more experienced paramedic, which we'll get to in a minute. So the intermediate level for this training, basically, these, in this case, they go up to almost like 400 hours of training. That would include the time as a basic training also. The responsibilities are a little bit different. They can't prescribe medicine or give medicine that's not prescribed, but they can help someone take the medicine that a doctor's prescribed for them. In certain states, that's regulated a little more than other states. They can give IV treatments in addition to what is up above, and they can do tracheal intubations, which are the situation where if you can't breathe, they set up a scenario where they can breathe for you using the instruments and tools they have. And you'll see about that in just a few minutes. Now, the paramedic is the most advanced of all of these areas, and they can spend up to 2 years in school. And their responsibilities, they can administer drugs intravenously and by mouth. They have the ability to read lab results and EKGs and X-rays, and be able to make judgments about those things. They can clean wounds and treat wounds. They can conduct manual defibrillation, which is the ability to take the pads attached to their machine and use them that way. And you'll see in a little bit when you see what's inside of an ambulance. I'm going to show you that. Some of this information that I'm sharing with you right now, you'll see how that's used using the equipment and everything they have. So it's kind of important. One of the things I found fascinating was I was laying in the snow, broken hip, snow and ice. I mean, it was literally ice. So these guys were working on the same ice that I slipped and fell on. There were two of them. The ambulance came, and that's always a good thing to hear because help is on its way. When they got there, they asked the proper questions. They made me feel comfortable. They didn't make me feel stupid. They simply asked what happened, where I hurt, asked a few questions about that. Pretty much diagnosed it right off the bat that I had a broken bone. Their problem was how to get me up so that I could get onto their gurney, and they certainly could roll me over and put a blanket and lift me over there. But in this case, because it was so slippery and there was so many things that could cause a problem and I could fall and maybe injure myself harder, they came up with a great idea, and that was to put their foot. One of the guy put his foot really entrenched and made sure it was solid. Put it against my foot on my good leg that I had not broken. They reached down and made sure they had a good hold on me and braced, and literally just pulled me straight up. And that didn't hurt very much. A little bit, but not very much. And then I was able to turn a little bit on that foot and sit directly on the gurney and start to lay back. And when I did that, of course, they both got my legs and kept them straight and moved them over so that my hip stayed stable through that whole process. It was pretty fascinating to watch him work. So, but then I was just sitting there going, how are they gonna, these are not really big guys, to be honest with you. And I was going, how in the world are they gonna get a 240-pound guy on this gurney next to the ground, lift me up and get me into that ambulance? And so I'm going to show you a brief film here about how that's done, because I found it fascinating, and I saw it happen, but it was just fascinating to me. So I'll show you a brief film, and this kind of speaks to technology and how technology helps to ease their job and consequently make it easier on me too.
To load a patient on a PowerFlex cot into the ambulance, raise the vehicle's folding bumper if it has one. Raise the cot to its loading height, which is a high angled position with the head higher than the foot. Roll the cot forward until both loading wheels are on the patient compartment floor. Make sure the safety bar is past the yellow hook for Model 175 compatible cots, or that the head end loading post passes the safety stop on the stat track if you're using that model. With both operators at the foot end of the cot, lift and hold the foot end level with the ambulance floor. Push the blue touchpad to completely raise the undercarriage. Push the cot into the ambulance and secure it with the cot fastener. As a final step, turn the cot power switch off. If the vehicle is powered down, you'll need to turn the inverter or generator on to charge the cot power pack.
See, to me, that's awesome. And so it's pretty amazing to me how they did that, how they got in there. But I want to show you the inside of an ambulance because I don't think a lot of people have seen the inside of an ambulance. Hopefully you haven't. If you're unlucky like I was and you did get a chance to see it, then you're really impressed with what they have in there. And it makes you feel much, much more comfortable in terms of their ability to treat you and take care of you until you can reach an emergency room scenario. Emergency rooms we'll talk about in the next video, but I really want you to take a look here at this particular film, and it will help you understand what is inside of these. And remember all of those things I said paramedics were doing, all of the stuff in the basic and all the stuff in the intermediate, and then all the other stuff, the more advanced medical treatment stuff that a paramedic does. And then you couple that with the tools inside this ambulance to help them do that. And you've got to feel very good about the idea that you've got some of the best stuff, best tools to take care of you, while you're there and en route. So let's take a look at this film, and it takes a look at the inside of an ambulance. I think you'll find this very interesting.
We're just curious about how things work. We want to get closer and more involved to see the inner workings. Welcome to A Look Inside. Join us as we take a closer look at people, places, and things, and what makes them work.
Well, the ambulances these days are mobile intensive care units. So we carry equipment that you would normally find in an emergency room, such as cardiac monitors, IV drugs, all the equipment to do invasive procedures to save lives, whatever aspect that may be. So what you hear here is a Life Pack. It's a Life Pack 15. It does all our shocks for patients who are in cardiac arrest. We have leads. We have pads to shock the victim in cardiac arrest. This is connected for blood pressure. So we have blood pressure. We have a saturation monitor that reads how much oxygen is attached to each red blood cell. And then we also have our leads here that are attached to the patient, so we can read heart rhythms. We can actually take 12 pictures of the heart, 6 horizontal and 6 vertical, to find out if they're actually having a heart attack or some sort of cardiac event. We're able to determine whether they're having an event or not. These are called Intubation Tools. And this is what we use to save somebody's life when they're not breathing. These are laryngoscope, and these are blades. They simply connect in together. We put this into the patient's mouth, and we take an ET tube, an endotracheal tube, and pass it through the vocal cords into the lungs. We secure it, and we breathe for them. This is a very, very useful tool in saving lives in cardiac arrest or in respiratory arrest. One that we use very often, twice yesterday, in fact, with good results. So we go all the way from adult to child. What we have in here is our bag that carries even more equipment. This is called an Easy IO. It's an interosseous needle. And what we use this for is if we have a critical patient who's unconscious and unresponsive, doesn't matter if it's an adult or a child, this is a drill. And we actually take the drill, we put the needle on the end, and we drill it into the bone marrow. That way we can get fluid and IV medication straight into the bone marrow. We can take people's temperatures. We can take their blood sugar. We carry tourniquets and a full range of medication in here as well. Dextrose, glucagon for hypoglycemic patients, all kinds of cardiac medication here to save the cardiac arrest victim. All the drugs that paramedics carry these days. There are numerous pharmacological agents that we carry to help any victim in any situation. All right, so that's what's inside a mobile intensive care ambulance. Paramedic and EMT are the people that make up this ambulance. The ambulance itself, without it being stocked, without all the equipment that you see here, is worth around $130,000. Once you stock the ambulance, you're probably looking at another $80,000 or more, depending on the equipment that you have in here. So it's a very expensive operation, but it's a very needy and a very wanted sort of operation. So the public don't usually see that, but when we go to houses, some of them are very surprised about the kind of equipment that we bring in and the things that we're able to do, because they never knew that they had that resource within the community.
So you can see these guys are very professional. They have all the latest state-of-the-art stuff. Most of them do anyway. And so it gives you a bit of a comfortable feeling when you're in there. I remember being hooked up to that monitor with the blood pressure, and they put all the tabs on me, and they were looking at my EKG and my heart and all that kind of stuff. The only problem I had is one time it went all red and went crazy, beep, 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 beep. But he said occasionally something can cause that has nothing to do with what's happening. So again, because they knew what was going on, they have so much experience under their belt, they do so many of these things. They know when there's a real issue and when there's just a fluke issue with the equipment. So that was kind of comforting from that standpoint. The only other thing I think I want to add to this video to let you know is important is with all of that training, with all of the equipment, with all of the technology they have, the key component that really makes that work well is the person themselves. These people were sensitive to me. They were compassionate. They were caring. They listened. If I decided I wanted to do something or not do it and they felt it was okay, they let me make that decision. It was a feeling that they truly cared for my well-being, and they wanted it to work out the best possible way they could for me, given my circumstance. And I had these guys, like initially, they wanted to take me to Howell, Michigan. I said I wanted to go to Brighton because that's where I lived. So we went to the emergency room in Brighton. And it ended up being a pretty good decision because there wasn't a surgeon in Howell, which is about another 10 miles away from where I was. But the hospital is a little better equipped, but the emergency room there at Brighton handled it well. And we'll cover that in the next session. But they took me there, stayed there, was there for a little while. Then later, because there was no orthopedic surgeon in this area, I had to be transferred to Ann Arbor, Michigan, up where the University of Michigan is, to a hospital up there. And they were the ones that transported me. That's about 20, 25 miles away. So they picked me up, put me back in the ambulance after they treated me there in the emergency room, and took me to house. Same stuff going on. Talked to me the whole way, made me feel comfortable, but was monitoring everything about me. I could tell this person was on top of everything about me that was going on, but did it in a way that allowed me to feel comfortable to talk to you. So I would tell you this, first responders are worth every dime they make, and probably a lot more, really. They're probably underpaid. Um, it is really comforting to have them there when you need them. So I wanted to kind of just cover these first responders, and hopefully you know a little more about what goes into an ambulance and what goes into their training, and the fact that they are a caring group of people. So stay tuned next time. Excuse me. Stay tuned next time. We're going to talk about the emergency room environment. And I'll go through everything that I went through. I actually went into 2 emergency rooms, so I've had quite a bit of experience in dealing with all of that, and maybe that'll help you understand what's going on there, and the multitude of people and technology that's applied to you when you're in an emergency room in a pretty tough situation like I was. So until next time, enjoy your coffee. By the way, I'm doing so much better. I'm doing so much better. I'm climbing stairs, the whole thing now, almost back to normal. And that's just a little under a month from when I broke my femur bone. You can watch first video about that. Uh, and that's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty phenomenal. We'll talk about the surgical side of it and the treatment in the hospital and all of that stuff as part of this process. So until next time, like I said, enjoy your coffee. Be careful on ice. Pay attention to the ice safety rules. And know that you can feel comfortable if you have to use an ambulance or fire department paramedics, that you're getting quality people taking care of you. Have a good evening. I'll see you the next time on Coffee with Vic.